Alright, so this is going to be just a quick video explaining exactly how the double-socketed rings work for level 11 and so on and so forth. Twinks. It's pretty simple, but I think people get confused a lot because they watch videos that are like 6 months old, so they don't really understand how the process works necessarily, or what the variables are to make a ring that's compatible, sort of say, with the enchantments. Anyway, so first off, I'm going to show exactly what I'm going to talk about, and then I'll get into a bit more detail. So there's these items in the game called Magnificent Jeweler's Settings. Add one socket. This is intended for rings from the War Within. It does not specifically say that on the tooltip, but that's what it is. I'm also not going to buy 41 of those, I only want 4. And what these are used for, you could probably figure out, is putting sockets on rings. However, there's only specific rings that allow that. So if I do this, you can see that these other rings I have, these Faded Sword Seals, are not compatible. But these are. Now, I'm going to head and just show that. Here you go, 2 sockets. And there's 2 sockets here. So, you might be wondering, first off, why do these rings work? And that's a simple answer. It's because if we go into dungeons, go to current season, Theater of Pain, it is an M+ dungeon. And therefore, the Motherlode ring also works. The Mechagon rings, we don't have access to those. Not just because it's the level 50 dungeon, but also because they just straight up removed the rings for whatever reason. I guess they didn't want to work out the logistics of it. So the reason why I'm talking about this is that this is currently the Season 2 lineup. This lineup is going to change next season, in Season 3 of The War Within, and it is different from Season 1. If you have watched a guide in the past, you might have seen people with necrotic wake rings. So let me just show those. So these 2 rings. If you try to get these rings right now, they will not work. They have to be rings obtained during Season 1 of The War Within, which ended months ago. So if you try to get these and apply the ring enchant, they won't work. In the same vein, if I got these rings in like a month when the Season 3 comes out, they will not work either. They have to be obtained in the current season that they are considered the War Within. Of course, when we have the War Within as part of the base game, when Midnight comes out, then we'll have access to whatever rings we have through this. And hopefully the Magnificent Gem settings still work. The game is weird. What I can tell you, though, is next season, the only ring that should be available, unless they change the loot pool, is this bastard. It has 7 mastery and 3 haste. That's not going to be great for your warriors. So I highly recommend, if you're playing a Fury Warrior, just gearing right now with these rings as soon as possible, or focusing on the Mechagon rings that already exist. For those who are uninformed, the lineup off the top of my head that are not from the current expansion, the dungeons, is Halls of Atonement, and then both Wings of Tazavesh, which do have rings. However, there's no normal version, so unless they add a normal version to this instance, most likely these will not be in reach, which would be very unfortunate because you could probably tell it'd be much better for Fury Warrior. And then finally, I think I think it's just those 3. That kind of sucks. I feel like I'm missing one, but I could be wrong. I think it's the new one, and then 4 of the the War Withins, and then 3 Shadowlands dungeons. And one of those is just one dungeon that's just split apart. Anyway, this was kind of a longer explanation than I thought it would be, but I feel like that was good enough. I'll put bullet points on the screen if I feel like they're relevant, but ultimately the bullet points are rings from here in this point of time, right when I upload this, will work. Rings from here, they have to be obtained 6 months ago in order to be compatible with the Magnificent Gem thingy jeweler setting. And next season, which is in a couple of weeks, that is your only option. On the just so if you're curious, they do also work on necks, as the tooltip suggests. They do work on neck pieces. However, most of the neck pieces are not going to be worth it, especially since the Dragonflight necks have 3 sockets you can put on them, which is 3 is a bigger number than 2. So, I don't think that is necessarily relevant at this point in time. Like, Motherlode's not going to have a neck because Azurite. And then, same thing with Mechagon. So Theater of Pain doesn't have a neck either. So basically, it's only fingers. But if you were curious, season 1 of the War Within had had Mist of Tyrant's Life, which doesn't have rings, but it has necks. But again, not worth discussing them because beautiful amnesia exists. Alright, I've spoken long enough.